All right, let's focus differently today. So about 2 months ago, I started talking about food shortages, and now every content creator that is larger is talking about it. The only reason I know about it so far ahead of everybody else was because I do work in an industry that's manufacturing and trade, and I'm up the upper level where I'm talking about risks to the company because I'm in finance and IT. And they were talking about geopolitical climate as being one of their top risks. Now, I work for a company out of Europe, and they were talking about severing negotiations and trade talks with the U.S. And I was hearing more and more grumbling. And I have colleagues that are all over the world: China, Mexico, Canada, Brazil, Argentina, Chile, and then all of the European countries, India, Australia. And a lot of them were saying that their local news were telling them that they were going to stop negotiating and doing trade with the U.S. This is something I heard in those conversations with my colleagues. And it's interesting now that it's being talked about. But, of course, I was planning 2 months ago. And I did talk on here 2 months ago, but I didn't have a big following at that time. But we need to talk about it because there's a lot of things we don't make enough of in this country to supply the entire country, including things like coffee, which we do every single day. So either those are going to go super high because the trade deals we had in place are no longer, or there's going to be shortages. But it's not just things like coffee, luxury. I mean, coffee to me is not a needed essential. I mean, I could do without it. I like it, but I can do without it. But certain things we're going to need. There's going to be food we really need. So I really think that I did a post a couple weeks ago, but I know that I tagged a couple creators, like Hear Me Out on this, who likes to make lists. And I know she was busy with the Unfuck America tour, but we really need to gather a list of farmers that did vote blue and support them, because obviously we can't grow a head of cattle or a whole bunch of pigs and, chickens in our backyard, especially those of us that live in cities. But I also want to talk about things like buying from truckload sales. So as summer comes around, you're going to have local farmers try to sell things on the back of their truck. Or there's one that comes up from Georgia with peaches and berries. We probably should be thinking about canning and preserving. And those of you that can and preserve like I do, we need to teach safety. Because a lot of these new kids don't know what and how to do it. They're trying to read it out of a book. And I know if you remember when you were first learning how to can, it didn't cover everything. So we really need to talk about acidic nature and making sure that things stay safe and they don't end up with botulism, salmonella, or any of those things. Plus the difference between a water canner and a pressure cooker and which ones have to go in which. We really need to start talking about how to help others. They don't have to necessarily grow it all. They need to go to sales and preserve, because that's what my family did. My mom and dad were really poor, so they would go to truckload sales and buy big, huge flats of peaches and pears and stuff and can them for the whole year. We need to start teaching people. But we need a list of farmers. That's really important. We need a list of farmers.
We need to pay attention to the fact that empty ports mean empty shelves. That even if we do have the money, there will be no food for us in America. The next 30 days and further are gonna be so tough. I'm already thinking about meals that I'm gonna have to skip so that my daughter and my mother have food. And the fact that we might not even get medication for them too, as strong as I am on the outside, I'm scared to death for all of us on the inside, because cruelty is what they thrive on. Also, that they find so much joy in taking everything away from us.
Hi folks, so the United States is going to start seeing shortages in all kinds of products, mainly because of the trade dispute with things that are kind of hitting the fan right now. So I want to do a video on what kind of things from a grocery perspective the United States is going to start seeing problems getting, or they're certainly going to go up in price because of scarcity. And I've got a list of some of them, and these are products which are imported heavily into the United States, just to give you an idea. Now, the example I would give is this. Can you remember during COVID-19, some things were hard to get because of the supply chain issues? The same thing is going to happen to the United States, probably starting now, to be honest, because it takes so long to ship some of this stuff. So I've got a list of some things. Again, these are heavily imported products into the United States. And so if you did want to stock up, you can, or this is where areas where you're going to see food scarcity. First one is actually beef, believe it or not. Beef, US does actually export a lot of its beef. It doesn't do it domestically. Seafoods, cereals, avocados, tomatoes, berries, cucumbers, sugar, orange juice, and celery. And those are just a few examples of fruit and vegetables. I wanted to focus on fruit and vegetables for the most part. And of course, beef being the big meat one there as well. So just remember your COVID-19 experiences on trying to get things. This is about to start to happen in the United States now because of the issues relating to tariffs and how tariffs affect supply chains. Folks, my name is Nick. This is my opinion. Please let me know what you think in the comments.
Are y'all seeing what Walmart and other big box stores are saying? You know, when they met with 47's administration, they met with them to tell them, hey, your tariff play is really sucking, and yeah, you're going to cause shortages. The shelves will be empty. And I know people that are supportive of this administration say, oh, this is the art of the deal. He's doing exactly what he needs to do, except he's not. What he's doing is causing uncertainty, and if you are not growing something, then you definitely should be. Container gardening, raised bed, whatever you can do. Yeah, there's folks who be growing stuff in their house. Like, just do what you can, because having something is better than having nothing, even if you do not know. Shout out to all of the TikTok gardeners or people who are sharing what they're doing on TikTok, because that's how I'm learning. Like, I don't know nothing. I didn't fail 2 different times before. So yeah, that's grow something. Even the store, y'all, if Walmart is saying, hey, it's gonna be a problem, y'all don't want to listen to people like me when I say, hey, the farmers are sounding the alarm, hey, truckers are talking about it. Yeah, listen to what Walmart is telling. And it's not just Walmart, it's other big box stores as well. They are warning about empty shelves. So what does that mean? That means go get you some stuff. Get whatever rice and beans is a complete protein. Grow something. You need some type of vegetables or fruits that have vitamin C. Scurvy is a real thing that happens when you do not get enough vitamin C. Like this, just please do something. Y'all, they would love nothing more than to allow food scarcity, the food that we are getting, to be contaminated. Y'all, when they say undesirables, that's not new terminology. They got that term from the person who shall not be named, who was elected into power in the 1930s. Y'all, this is why they do not want you to read history. This is why they are disbanding the Department of Education. They understand that an educated populace is hard to control.
Tariff shortages are coming, and if you don't stock up now, you're going to be paying triple or fighting for scraps later. This is your warning. Share, repost, and let's talk about it. We're not just talking about inconvenience. We're talking about the basics for survival disappearing from the shelves. Prices are already rising because of the supply chain breakdowns and tariffs. And the harder it gets to import, ship, and stock supplies, the harder it's going to be for you to survive. Ask yourself right now, what are you doing to get ready? Here's what's about to vanish or triple in price. Morale boosters like coffee and tea, cereal grains, bread, oats, rice, and pasta, dairy products, fruits and vegetables, core protein sources like pork, beef, and seafood. We're already seeing the U.S. beef supply strain because of the heavy reliance on imports. And if you don't have a direct source like a local farmer or rancher, you'll be stuck paying premium prices or going without. But it's not only the food. Expect severe shortages in diapers and baby supplies, laundry soap, and personal hygiene items, all critical products to avoid illness and disease. Clothing and footwear, especially for the growing kids. Electronics, appliances, and basic home goods. Now think medical equipment, solar panels, batteries, furnaces, water heater, air conditioning, refrigeration. It's not just the finished products. You have to keep in mind the imported components for products made in America as well. Unless this is all turned around, the shortages are coming. Stock up, lock in your essentials, because in a real crisis, the prepared don't panic, they survive.
So I just watched a video from a guy that was breaking down the components of like how we're about to hit empty shelves in a little while. And so reading the comments and just things that y'all know I love to come on here and just give what I see. So basically people are saying go ahead and start stocking up on food, right? Now don't go in there and go all crazy really nilly because we don't know what to come, but stock up on like canned goods and things that you know that can last a little longer. Beans, like dried beans and things like that. As well as somebody also said to go ahead and start buying your kids Christmas gifts now, because probably around that time, because what's going on, there may not be anything for them to buy. So I felt like that was something good to see. Also, this is coming from me. I feel like we need to start going back to meals that didn't cost a lot of things. I don't know. So like, we already still eat spaghetti, but things that can stretch, last a little longer than, normal. Certain stuff like that, eating our sandwiches, peanut butter jelly sandwiches, noodles, all that stuff. Like we got to go back to those dynamics. Still cooking a big meal, but probably not every day. I don't know. I'm not scared per se, but I just feel like we need to start planning just in case. It's coming. They're talking about it's coming. It's going to happen. Also, we know that certain people can stop this, but they're not. So get your houses together, y'all. Buy dried items, food that you can that can last in the pantry without having to worry about having to be thrown away. And one thing I've been doing from things been growing up in a household with my grandmother and of course my mother and aunties, but if you cook something and you have a lot left or anything left, freeze it. Okay? Freeze it. Freeze it is the best thing that I can say. That has been helping me when it comes to meals, like anything that I cook and they don't eat it. My kids don't eat it all. My family don't eat it all. I freeze it. Okay? And if I need it or if I'm going to add to a meal, I can do so later. But drop in the comments some meals that people can cook that may last longer, right? That you also can freeze, but you don't have to worry about it. Can stretch and feed a whole household without having to spend a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? Love you. Bye.
Empty port, empty shelves does not mean that we are going to run out of our important groceries or essential food items, because we mostly get our groceries from other nearby countries and they won't be affected by the China tariffs. Things that will be affected or could be affected are going to be electronics, toys, and things like home goods, because we actually do get those from China. Some processed foods could see a price increase because some ingredients are shipped from China. So when you see TikTok videos saying, start preparing, empty ports mean empty shelves, you do not need to worry, because they're talking mostly about non-essential items, not everyday groceries. Stay calm, trust in God, and don't panic buy.